once.
There was a king,
whose golden-haired wife was so lovely.
Their equal couldn't be found anywhere in the world.
Now it so happened that she fell ill.
Feeling as though she was about to die, she said to the king,
If you marry after I die, you mustn't marry anyone less beautiful than me, or with hair less golden than mine. You must promise him this.
the king gave his promise.
And then, soon after, she closed her eyes and died.
For a long time, the king was inconsolable.
He couldn't even think about taking a second wife.
eventually his councillors said to him,
Your Majesty, there's no avoiding it.
The country needs a queen.
you must marry again.
So messengers were sent far and wide to find a bride as lovely as his wife had once been.
However, they had no success, no matter how far they looked.
For even if they can't be as beautiful, they might not have golden hair.
Messengers came home empty-handed.
Now the king had a daughter whose hair was as golden as her mother's had been.
He hadn't noticed it during her childhood.
One day, soon after she came of age, he happened to see her as the sun was shining down on her golden hair.
He saw that she was just as beautiful as her mother had been.
And he fell madly in love with her on the spot.
He summoned the Privy Council and announced,
I have decided to marry. There is no one in this nation as beautiful as my daughter, so I have determined to marry her.
The councillors were appalled.
Your Majesty, this is impossible.
The Lord God has forbidden any such thing,
It is one of the very worst sins.
No good could ever come of it.
and the nation would fall into ruin.
As for the girl, she was horrified.
hoping to gain a little time, she said,
Dear father, before I marry you, I need 3 dresses. One as gold as the sun, one as silver as the moon, and one that glitters like stars. And what's more, I need a fur cloak made of 1,000 different kinds of fur, one for every different animal in the kingdom.
She thought that would be impossible, and it would keep him from carrying out his wicked plan.
But the king was so mad with love that nothing would stop him.
He employed the most skillful weavers in the land to weave 3 kinds of cloth.
The best work is leather and fur. 1,000 different pieces to sew them all together.
Designers cut and sew into 3 magnificent dresses.
He had sent his huntsmen to work in his forests.
And day after day, they came home with their trophies of fur and skin. And before long, it was becoming clear to the girl that her father would supply everything that she'd asked for.
Then came the day when he said,
Everything is nearly ready. Tomorrow, we shall be married.
She saw there was no hope.
And the only way out was to run away.
When everyone in the palace was asleep, she gathered 3 little things from her treasures.
The golden ring,
a tiny golden spinning wheel.
And a little golden bobbin.
Then she packed her 3 dresses so small that they could fit into a nutshell.
put on her thousand-fur cloak.
Dirtied her hands and face with soot.
Then, commending herself to God,
She left the palace.
And set out on the high road.
She walked and walked until she came across a mighty forest.
By that time, night was coming to an end.
and the first birds were beginning to sing.
please don't be shy.
She was so tired that she found a hollow tree.
And fell sound asleep.
Now, the next morning, it just so happened the king who owned that forest was out hunting.
His hounds had caught the scent of something strange.
And they ran up to the tree and circled it, talking and barking.
There's something alive in there. Go and see what it is.
Doing as they said, they came back to report.
It's a strange beast, Your Majesty. Like nothing we've ever seen in these woods before. Skin seems to be made of 1,000 different kinds of fur. It's just lying there, asleep.
Well, see if you can catch it alive. We'll tie it to the cart and we'll take it back to the castle.
Taking care. in case she was dangerous.
They reached in and grabbed the princess.
Ah!
Full of fear, she cried
Away
out.
from our hiding place.
And full of fear, she cried out.
No! Don't hurt me! I'm just a poor girl, that's all! My mother found her abandoned being on the floors!
Well, Thousandfurs, you're not lost now, are you?
Oh, you're a trophy, you are.
You belong to us.
Seeing that she wasn't in fact a rare beast, the king himself lost interest.
So they set her up on the cart. And off they went.
Bumping over all the ruts, all the way to the palace.
And showed it to a little cubbyhole under the stairs.
Dark and dusty.
You can live there, you foreign creature. They told her.
They made her work in the kitchen.
She carried wood and kept the fire going.
She drew water from the well.
She cooked the chickens. She washed and peeled the vegetables.
She washed the greasy dishes.
And all the dirt to it was given to Thousandfurs.
And there she lived as a skivvy for a very long time.
My sweet princess. What has become of it?
Now, one day, it was announced the king would host a grand ball.
Thousandfurs was curious to see and said to the cook,
Can I go upstairs and have a look? I promise I'll say it's something good.
"Fine, pick that up. Make sure you're back here in half an hour. Those ashes won't clear themselves."
Thousandfurs took a lamp and a bowl of water and went into her cubbyhole.
There she took off her cloak and washed her hands and face.
So that her beauty was clear to see.
Then she opened the nutshell.
Took out the dress as gold as the sun.
And put that on.
And went upstairs to the ballroom.
And all the servants bowed to her.
All the guests smiled politely, as they thought she must have been a princess.
When the king saw her, he felt as if a thunderbolt had struck his heart. He had never seen such beauty in all his life.
He danced with her halfway.
When the dance was over, she curtsied.
And disappeared before he could see where she went.
He made inquiries of every guard in every century.
Had anyone seen where she'd gone? Had she left the castle? But no one had.
Because very quickly she ran back to her cubbyhole.
She had rolled the dress away. She was near her face and hands.
Put on her fur cloak and hurried to the kitchen.
She hurried to make soup. While the cook was upstairs, she took a gold ring from her treasures and placed it in the king's bowl.
And as soon as the ball was over, the king called for his soup.
And it tasted so good that he thought he'd never tasted better in his entire life.
But when he reached the bottom of the bowl,
What's this? A golden ring? How in the world did that get there? Send for the cook!
The cook was terrified. As she hurried out of the kitchen, she said to Thousandfurs, "You must have let a hair fall in the soup. Didn't I warn you about that? Wait till I get back. You'll be back and blame my girl."
the cook came before the king.
Trembling and twisting her apron in her hands.
Did you make this? Stop fiddling. Stand up straight.
"Yes, Majesty," said the cook faintly.
you're not telling the truth. This is much different from what you usually make, and it's much better.
Yes, you're right, sire, it wasn't me. It was that little furry skivvy.
Send her to me.
Once Thousandfurs arrived, the king said,
Who are you?
I'm a poor girl with no mother or father, sire.
And how did you come to work in my castle?
I was found in a hollow tree, your majesty.
And what do you know about this ring?
I don't know anything about a ring, your majesty.
The king thought she must be simple and dismissed her.
Now, not long after that, another ball was announced.
And just as before, Thousandfurs asked the cook for permission to go upstairs and have a look.
Well, all right then. But make sure you're back here in half an hour to make that bread soup the king likes so much.
Thousandfurs ran to her cubbyhole.
Washed herself quickly, took out the dress as silver as the moon,
And went up to the ballroom.
And the king saw her at once, through all the crowd of dancers, for she was even more beautiful than before.
they danced together.
And it only seemed like a moment to him.
For as soon as the dance was over,
She vanished.
she ran back to her cubbyhole and put the dress away.
Put on the third foot and dirty herself.
Out of my way.
And became Thousandfurs once again.
Brought her into the kitchen to make some soup.
While the cook was upstairs watching the dancing, Thousandfurs put a little golden spinning wheel into the bowl and poured soup over it.
And as before, the king found it and sent for the cook.
And the cook admitted that it was once again Thousandfurs that had made the soup.
So he sent for her.
As soon as she came,
I have to say, I am puzzled by you. Tell me again where you come from.
A hollow tree, your majesty?
No.
He thought.
The poor girl must have lost her wits. It's a shame, really. She might be pretty under all that dirt.
so he sent her away.
When the king gave a third ball, everything happened as before.
The cook was getting suspicious though. And she said to Thousandfurs,
I think you must be a witch you furry little creature. You always put something in the soup that makes it you like witch, man.
But she was good-natured enough to let her go up and see the lords and ladies, as she'd done before.
she hurried to her cubbyhole, took out the dress as silver and it glittered like the stars. Struggled to put it on and ran up to the ballroom.
The king had never seen anyone as lovely.
He ordered the orchestra to play a long dance.
So that he might have a chance to talk to her.
She was as light in his arms as the starlight itself. But she said very little.
He managed to slip a ring on her finger without her noticing.
The dance was over, her half an hour was up, so she tried to slip away.
There was a small struggle as he wanted to hold on to her.
But she was too quick for him and managed to slip away.
When she ran back to the cubbyhole, she didn't have time to put the dress off.
She quickly put on the third foot and dirtied herself,
But in her haste, she missed one finger which remained clean.
and hurried to make the soup.
Just as before, when the soup was ready, she took her tiny gold bobbin and placed it in the king's bowl. When the king found it, he didn't waste time calling for the cook, but sent for Thousandfurs directly.
when she arrived, he immediately saw the one clean finger that he'd managed to slip a ring onto whilst they were dancing.
He seized her hand and held it fast.
And as she struggled,
The cloak came open a little.
Revealing the glitter of the starry dress.
He pulled back the hood of her cloak, and her golden hair fell down.
He took it off altogether.
And revealed the lovely princess that he'd been dancing with not half an hour before.
and when her hands and face were washed, nobody could deny that she was more beautiful than anyone who had ever lived.
You shall be my lovely bride, and we shall never part.
Their wedding was celebrated shortly afterwards.
And they lived happily